friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tammy Ernest and I am a long arm quilter, and here on my channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. And I am so glad you're back here this week. I feel like every week when I sit down to film I am just meeting with friends. I enjoy talking with you. I know you comment back to me, but in some way I just feel like we're friends, and I just enjoy this time sitting down to share with you what's been going on in my life, the projects I've been working on, and then hearing back from you as well. So thank you so much for joining me. It just thrills my heart to know that you enjoy the things that I enjoy, and that we're all working to make the world a better place, right? So this week I have some updates on some of the things that I've been sewing on. So let's start with the Sew Scrappy Spools. So I have this in a little binder, and this is a year-long quilt-along with a fat quarter shop, and this pattern is available on their website. There is a charge. I apologize if last time I said that this was a free pattern. It is not a free pattern. It is downloadable, and that's what I've done with mine, so I've just printed it out, or you can get a physical copy sent to you. But this is a year-long quilt-along. The quilt was actually designed by Holt, and it's all spools. You see that? So each month there are 1 or 2 different types of blocks that we're making, and so I finished my April blocks in the nick of time. It may have been Saturday night, so I had a whole day to spare, but I did finish these over the weekend, so I wanted to show you what I've been working on. So this, for April, they were, let me see, flower blocks and then sew geese blocks. And you've seen all of my other blocks. I have them all stacked up here. I'm getting quite the stack here. So really fun. So you can go back to some of my other videos if you want to see details about those. In the beginning, I told you that I am using scraps for all of my fabrics for this sew along. So I keep, these are fat quarters to under a yard. I keep in baskets like these. I actually have 2 full ones and 1 more. So I decided when I started this quilt along at the beginning of the year, I was just going to pull. I like the colors in this basket. I felt like there was a wide variety. And so I've just been pulling fabrics from here to use for all of my blocks. And so you'll see some fabrics used over and over. The one consistent thing that I am using this white print. This is a Christopher Thompson print. It's a white on white. Let me see if I can get you detail. It's a tonal, just a white on white. Has those little tiny, they're not stars. They're almost a tiny little flower. If you can, let me see if I can get it just right. There you go. Just a tiny little flower, sporadic. It's not a, a pattern. It's kind of random, is what I'm trying to say. And so this is what I'm using for the edges of all the spools, and that is the one constant. Everything else is scrappy. I am using the browns from this basket for the spool tops and bottoms. So I will just pick out a brown fabric and use that on on the month that I'm using. I'll use the 1 brown each month. So I'm using the same brown for every block that I made for April. And there's 2 or 3 more, 4 or 5, I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7, maybe 8 more brown prints in here. So I think I'll have plenty for the rest of the year. Or I can go back and use some scraps from the other months. So let me show you what I did this month. So there are 2 blocks. The first one was called the flower block. And so this month, this is the brown print I'm using. These are all scraps, so I really don't know the designer or the fabric line. And some of these scraps I've had for a long time, or they're ones that were donated to me by somebody, and so all different ones. So this one's black, yellow, and then with a red center. And these are done with easy corner triangles. So you're starting with the yellow block, and you're adding easy corner triangles. You're making 4 of the same block and turning them the different directions so you get the red all in the middle. Very simple block. And an orange with some darker green. And to pick out colors for these, really all I am doing is pulling some fabrics from my basket, laying them out. I kind of like this color with this color. Oh, that's not the right shade for that one. And I'm just trial and error. This is a green gingham with a dark, like a burnt orange, and then a dark green print in the middle. And the final one is a gray with a black center, and then this red, it's not red, it's not orange. It's kind of a funky color red, to be honest with you. But it works well with the gray and the black. So those are my 4 flower blocks. Then we also had 4 flying geese. Lori calls them sew geese blocks. And there are 4 of these. So these are pretty big flying geese. Very easy to make. You know, I use the same print as the base print. So if you've made flying geese, these are 1 at a time. I know there's a way to make flying geese 4 at a time. These are actually done just 1 at a time. So you're taking this base rectangle right here, and you have a square. You're putting it on this side of the rectangle, sewing across it, folding that back, sewing across this side and folding it back. Now, one of the things I do when I'm making either easy corner triangles or I'm making flying geese like these, I do not trim my back fabric until after I iron. And the reason is because this rectangle I know is already to the size that I want it. So whatever this was, I can't remember, 3.5 by 5.5, something like that. So when I put this square here and I sew across, when I am pressing this triangle back, I lined it up with that bottom fabric because I know that that bottom fabric is already square. So sometimes my stitching may not always be straight, but if I am pressing it and I am lining it up with that, then I know when I press it, it's going to be square. That block's going to be squared off, you know, it'll be in the rectangle shape. Then after that has cooled, then I will go back and I will clip those 2 fabrics. So you would have this backing fabric and then you would have the other half of that square there. Then I trim after that, okay? I know that's a little different. Some others, I learned that years and years ago when I first started quilting. I'm trying to think of the lady's name. I don't know. One of the very first quilting, it was just a trunk show I went to, but I know she talked about that, and I've done that ever since. So just a little hint for you. So I used 2 different colors for the triangle parts, but the same print for the base one. So there's a blue one, and here is a green one. This middle color I think I got in a Sew sampler box one time. Not always my colorway. This is a little more, it's seashells, not really my favorite, and but it works in here. You know, I thought it kind of worked, being in a scrappy. And these 2 colored greens are very close. They're both batiks, actually. The top one's a batik. This bottom one is just a tonal. But very close in the green color that they are, but it worked for that one. Then this one appears a little different. These triangles really show up. I don't know. It just depends on where your colors are. But when I look at this one, boom, those this base print really shows up. So this is an orange. It's got a little bit of a print to it. And then I used this stripe. Now I did make sure when I put my squares on top of the stripe that I had the stripes. When I put my squares on top of my base print, that I had my stripes going in the same direction. I could have turned this square this way, but then I would have had this one going up and down and this one going sideways. So just make a note of that when you're laying out your prints, if you want them to go the same way. I'm not always that picky, but for this one I wanted to be. And then a light green on the top. And my final one, this is a black batik, and then I used gray and then a darker black print for the top triangle, or for the top easy corner triangles there. So real cute. So those are the Sew Geese blocks and the flower blocks for the sew along. And now it's May. The schedule actually shows that you start the next blocks like the middle of the month. So this says like May 11th. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get them done sometime in that month. But the next one are just heart blocks, and I'm assuming it's just going to be 4 of those, so that shouldn't take too long. So sometime this month of May, I will fit those in. But so far, I'm really enjoying it, hoping to use up more and more of that basket of scraps. And if you'd like to join along, it's not too late to get started on it. So you can find that pattern. I'll link it below if you're interested in starting that one with us. So that's my update on my Sew Scrappy Spools. Let me set this basket on the floor. The other quilt along I am working on is my Calico Garden. Here is that pattern. So if you're familiar with Lori Holt's patterns, she puts these on her blog. This is a free pattern, but to make this pattern, you will need to buy her Sew Simple Shapes. I'll link all of that down below. I didn't bring any of the Sew Simple Shapes with me this time, but there are like 88 of them. So all different sizes to make all of the different, I would say, on this one, I'm guessing like 3/4 of it is applique, and then the other parts are pieced. So to make all the chickens and the bee skep, which I showed a couple videos ago, the tomato, that's the hollyhocks there, and just all these different ones, you will need the Sew Simple Shapes to make those. So let me show you where I'm at on this one. I didn't make a huge amount of progress, but some. Let me show you what I've done on this one. All right, so I worked on the potting shed, and I really enjoyed this one because it's all, this is all pieced. And I'm fine. Look, I still have a sticker on there. So this is one of Lori Holt's little stickers, and I actually didn't have the right letter, so I wrote another letter on top of that. But just to keep my pieces straight, I marked these with the letters. I could have used, because there was only a couple pieces of each one, I didn't use those big binder clips that I showed you last time. I'll show you how big this is. This is the potting shed that's in the middle of the quilt. Let me show you on the picture itself. Just to give you an idea how big this quilt is. So that's the potting shed. And here it is. It's pretty big, pretty big. So this is the potting shed with its little, you know, I kind of picture this as like a little stoop. Like when you come into our back mud room, we have a little stoop there and like the door there. And if you had like a little roof over that stoop, and then you have the larger roof over the whole thing. And these are not put together yet because there's other pieces that go down the sides. Let me show you what I mean about that. There are some other blocks that fit in underneath this roof. So the tomato block here, it's going to fit in underneath that bigger roof and the hollyhocks one. So I didn't sew this one down to this one yet because we have to put in those other blocks. So that's why they're not done yet. And then, so this is a roof block with the chimney. But on top of this chimney, there are some other applique pieces. You can see the bird and the watermelon, and then that is actually rickrack that comes out for the smoke. I've not done that part yet either. So I have all my pieces cut and turned, but I have not appliqued them down yet. So here's the little watermelon. I don't think those are seeds. I actually think those are part of a plant. Yeah. They're part of a flower that's in the bird's mouth. These are, okay. I have 2 different blocks here. Let me kind of separate them here. Because this one is the watermelon and the birds. And it has a flower in its mouth. You can see that on the roof of the potting shed. So there's the bird, there's the watermelon that goes with that. Now these pieces at the top, these are for the wheelbarrow block. And it has pumpkins inside the wheelbarrow and then a little potted plant with the pink flowers. So here's the 2 pumpkins right here. This is part of the wheel. And there's another circle that goes in here with the spokes. I haven't made that part yet. And some of the other, here's like the little potted part of it. These are the stems to the pumpkin. I think these are some of the flowers, the leaves, yeah. And then this yellow one, where does it go? Oh, that's this blue. And that's actually part of that flower that goes with the bird. So I have two different, and I don't know what this piece is. Oh, this is the bird's wing. So I have two different blocks going on here, but all the pieces are turned. I do have the spoke one to finish, and there are some stars. Oh, wait a minute. Here's some more. This is the wheelbarrow portion of it, and the pumpkins fit down in there. And then there are some stars. Let me show you these stars. All right, so I sewed the interfacing on top of the fabric, and I have slit the whole back side of it. And now I need to turn it. And this is very, very tedious. And Lori shows on her blog, you're almost cutting this whole thing open. I need to do a few more cuts in here so that I can just flip those to the back and iron it down. But it was getting pretty late the other night when I was working on this. And so there are 3 of these stars, and this is the largest of the 3. There are 2 more. So she says they're kind of tedious to do, but it can be done. So I'm going to continue to work on those. And those go with the wheelbarrow block. Those 3 stars right there. So that's what I've worked on this time, is the applique for that, the applique for that, and the potting shed. Yeah, making some progress there. Getting those things done. Enjoying it. It's going to be really pretty when it's all done. Really, really enjoying that. I was going to show you on the potting shed these little strips for the window. Those are actually bias tape. You use a bias tape maker to make those, and then they're just glued down right now. I will end up appliquing those down so that they don't get snagged on anything. But really cute, really cute. So that's my progress on my my Calico Garden. I said the wrong thing. My Calico Garden quilt. All right, and then the other thing that I've worked on this week is this pattern. I've been showing you this for a few weeks. So this is a pattern by Carolyn Forster. This was given to me by another client. She had made a quilt like this, and I did a long arming quilting for her. And then I had a separate client give me a bunch of antique pillowcases that were either embroidered or cross-stitched, embroidered or cross-stitched by her aunt, and she asked if I could make it into a quilt for her. So I am working on this quilt. I have the first 2 rows together. Let me show you my progress on this. This took quite a bit of planning to lay it all out. I actually, on Sunday afternoon, I had the first 2 rows of this laid out on our dining room table, and I moved my sewing machine downstairs so that I could just have it pick the pieces up off the dining room table, walk over to my sewing machine, sew several of those together, take it back to my dining room table. I didn't have a large enough space in my sewing room to lay it all out. So it's quite the challenge to lay it all out and make sure I've got everything correct. So I think I've shown you the bigger squares in the middle the last couple weeks. And then I did order a second jelly roll of the Grace fabric so that I could, the first time I cut it, I only cut 4 of these 2.5-inch squares, and I needed 4 more. And I didn't want to use a separate print, so I ended up ordering a second jelly roll. And then the original pattern has you cutting a strip here and making this whole block, and then cutting a strip here and making this whole block, and then joining those 2 blocks together. You can see, like this print here, I didn't want to cut this in half, so I just measured, made sure I had the right measurements, and then I cut the whole piece, and then actually joined these 2 squares of the 2 separate blocks together, and then joined it more as a row instead of joining it as blocks. And so like the top row here, I joined that all as 1 long row, the second one as 1 long row, then this set of blocks all as 1 long row. Then the next one, I did this one as, so this row was already there. So I did these 2 fabrics with these. Some of these I did as 4, some of them I did as 2, and then with one larger one over here, just depending on what I had available. So here's like a small square that I cut from one of the pillowcases. These are just white squares. They are cut from that same pillowcase, but I'm kind of fussy cutting to make sure that I get as much of the embroidery and the cross stitch into the quilt as I can. So you can see, like, here's a 2.5, here's a 2.5 with some embroidery on it. So it just kind of depends. Move it over to the next section. So it's coming together really nicely. It's just taken quite a while to lay it all out. Next couple blocks. And then I wanted to show you this. I talked about last week how many of the pillowcases had this crocheted edge around it. And so I've actually tried to take some of those and stitch them onto some of the white that I have so that I can incorporate that into there too. So what I did was actually stitch this down in 2 long rows over the top of the crochet so that I could incorporate that in there. And I had another block, maybe it was back here at the beginning. And I did that one that way too. That was a crocheted edge, and I wanted to incorporate it in there too. So I laid it across the white fabric and just stitched it down. Those were just too pretty not to include in there. That one's my favorite. I think I've told you that. So you saw most of these blocks separate last week. And now I'm getting them together. So there's 5 rows total, and I have 2 of them done. So this may still take me a couple weeks to completely get it all together. But it's been a fun stitch. A really great way to use those pieces that you find that you may not use these as pillowcases anymore, but to incorporate them into a quilt is really special. And these were all in really good shape. Really fun to work with. So again, that's this pattern. I will link the website in there. I'm not sure if this pattern's still available, but it's called Floral Flourish. But I know that Carolyn Forster is still in business, still has a website and that kind of thing. All right, so those are my piecing that I have been doing. And now I have some absolutely gorgeous quilts to show you that I've had on the long arm this week. We have a Camille Roskelley quilt, actually a Bonnie and Camille quilt. We have an Erica Arndt quilt. We have a Lori Holt quilt, and I have some others. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. The first one I want to show you, I'm actually going to talk about some things first, and then I'll show you the quilt. So one of the quilts that I got in this week is antique Santa Clauses, like old world Santa Clauses. And in looking at the description that the client, this is from Debbie, then Debbie says these are classic Santas. I've had this fabric. It was a block of the month that was done over 20 years ago, and finally want to get this quilt done. So in looking at the old world Santas, and looking at the fabrics that are in there, to me they really look like Nancy Halvorsen fabrics. Are you familiar with Nancy Halvorsen? So I came across her when I was early into my sewing, and I grabbed some of the books that I have of hers. Nancy Halvorsen is an artist, and so this is probably the first book that I started with. This is, her company name is Art to Heart. This is her book called Count on It, and this is all kinds of calendar things. There's a whole, every month of the year, there's numbers. So I've mentioned before that we had a pumpkin patch for about 18 years. And at our pumpkin patch, we had a small cabin. That's where we would sell baked goods out of. And I started selling some of my quilting as well. And so one year I actually did this these calendar blocks as a month a monthly subscription that if people ordered it ahead of time, then each month I would make these monthly blocks for them and then send it to them. It was a lot of fun. I'll insert a picture here of I made a set for myself as well. I no longer display them so much in the house. I have them across the top of my sewing room, towards the top of the ceiling, and so I'll take a picture and insert it here so you can see those all together. So really fun. I've told you before that I am a homeschool mom. I have 7 children. The oldest one, we didn't start homeschooling until he was 6th grade. So, and finished him through high school, and all of the other 6 I have worked to get them through school all the way through high school. So I have been through high school almost 7 times. My youngest one is a freshman this year, so by the time I'm done, I will have been through high school 7 times. I love school. I loved school when I was in school. Love to learn, still learning all the time, but I love numbers, I love calendars, I love planning. So this stuff just thrills me. So I made all of the calendar ones. I actually did it for my mom and my mother-in-law one year, and sent those to them each year or each month. You can also see in this one are these birthday banners is what I would call them. And I've made these. I haven't made them for all of my kids, but we just had this one up recently. Stephen, our youngest, had a birthday in April, so we have birthday banners that we put up. I probably should finish the other kids'. Some of the kids got them, just depending on how busy I was at the time. This is a fun thing from that book. Also in the book are all the numbers. I also have a set of these in my sewing room. These are the 2 extra ones. I have used these to put up the date, or to put up, if I was decorating for a birthday, to put up how old they are. I've used them for that. When we had the pumpkin patch, I had somebody buy the numbers for that current year and the following year, because they used them in their family pictures so that they could change the numbers out for whatever it was, 2005 or whatever the year was, in 2006. And she could put the numbers in the background for their family pictures. So just a lot of fun thing. Oh, let me show you another one. Also from that same book is another birthday banner, and we use this every birthday. So I don't know if I can get this whole thing spread out, but it says happy birthday, all in different letters, and these are actually sewn down onto the ribbon. Okay, so it says happy birthday. Then at the end, these are just pinned on. You can see the pins. And we change out these letters to depend on whose birthday it is. So like I said, Stephen's birthday was in April. So we had Stephen up. We've got a large opening between our dining room, between our kitchen, ours is an eat-in kitchen, between our kitchen and our living room. So we hang this in that large open, and we hang up whoever's birthday it is. It's so fun. And we have a whole stack of extra letters. I made sure, so I didn't just do random letters. What I did is I wrote everybody's name out and made sure I had enough letters to make everybody's name. So like Stephen and Joseph, they both have S's in there. So I made however many S's I would need for that name. So Stephen has 1 S, Joseph has 1 S. I think that's the only people I have S. So I only have 1 S in the whole thing, because that's all I would need to put their names up. But I did all different colors. So there's several different E's, all in different colors, different G's, because I need 2 G's, because my husband's name is Greg, so I need 2 G's for that one. But just all different letters. This is so fun. And I bet I made these, oh my, we've had these 15 plus years, and we use them every birthday. That's how we always decorate with this. Been a lot of fun. And again, that is from this Nancy Halvorsen book, all in here. This party one right here, I also made that one. Made it in pinks and greens, a little girly one, but you could hang this out on, this is when yard flags were really big. I don't know if those are still real popular, but you can do the little, this slides through all the way through. So you can either do a, what'd I do with Stephen's birthday flag? Oh, it's underneath there. So like with this one, I just slid a dowel rod through, and then we can hang that on a nail. For this one, if you were, this would fit on one of those yard stakes, those black metal ones, and so it can hang outside, say the party's here. So Nancy Halvorsen just has some really cute things. So this is one that I have. Another one that I have, I did not bring down, oh yes I did. This is another one that I have used quite a bit. This is a nativity one. So cute, really cute patterns in here. Oh, here, let me back up. This is some ideas on using the numbers. So they use the December one with the 25, or like January 1st, February 14th for Valentine's Day. Really cute ways to use those numbers and letters. That was in the wrong book. So this is Nativity one. I have made several of these ornaments. So each year we give our kids a new ornament every year that goes in their stocking, and then when they leave home they get to take that ornament box with them. And so one year I made everybody got a baby Jesus. Another year everybody got the shepherd, and I'm thinking I made maybe the Mary and Joseph one year. I can't remember, but it's kind of fun. That was their ornaments every year, if I think of it soon enough. But really cute projects. Here's some table runner and some placemats with the town of Bethlehem, some tea towels. Now these books that I have, these are several years old, and I know most of these are still available on her website, and I'll link those down below. Some of her newer books are really cute. She has more Christmas ones. She has a schoolhouse one that looked really cute. She does all the seasons, so summer and fall, spring ones. I know she had a really cute spring one with some Easter prints in it, and then also some bunny rabbits and all those things. So really big fan of Nancy Halvorsen. I was going to show you. This, I used that pattern and made this tree skirt. So there's the Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus, and then there's angels on the, you see that? The angels. Now I just did some just simple back stitching to make the words, and I did this, I quilted this when I had the hand-guided machine, so just all little hand-guided things on there. But this is just a small small tree skirt, and the directions are in the book on how to make it. There's a little bit better picture. So it's got angels on all the four sides, and then Mary and Joseph on all the four corners. I used some older prints of fabric so that it really looked like, you know, some older colorways, I want to say. And then the star in the middle that you cut out and make the tree skirt. It's a lot of fun. So when I was working on this Antique Santa one for Debbie, and I saw some of the prints, it just reminded me of Nancy Halvorsen's work. Here's a Christmas one, a snowman one she has. I've made several out of this as well, the Cider Mill Road. Again, these are older books, and she's got some newer ones. I did make this bag for my daughter one time. I think I made some apple stuff for my mother-in-law. She's a really big apple person, but some really cute projects. So you'll want to go check Nancy Halvorsen out. Just a lot of fun prints, and like I said, I love numbers and words, and she does so much of that. So let me show you the antique Santa quilt that Debbie sent in, and I'll point out some of the Nancy Halvorsen fabrics that I see in that. Let me insert a picture here so you can see that quilt. All right, so I don't know if these Santas are actually Nancy Halvorsen pattern. Debbie wasn't sure. She said it was a block of the month program that she did. In looking real quick at some of Debbie's books, not Debbie's books, in Nancy's books, Nancy's Santas tend to be a little more whimsical, so I'm not, these might be hers, I really don't know, I can't say for sure. But some of hers were a little more whimsical, and these Santas appear more old world to me. Let me show you. Really pretty. I really like these. These were all appliqued down, and let's talk about the applique for a minute. So the Lori Holt applique that we've been doing, I've shown you how with hers you are tracing the Sew Simple shapes onto the interfacing. You're putting the interfacing, those trace shapes, onto the top of your fabric. You're stitching on that line, slicing the interfacing, and then flipping everything out. You don't have any exposed edges of your fabric, but it's not needle turn because you're not flipping under those. All the interfacing keeps it under. I like that. Now, this is the way, in looking at this, and the way I have done my Nancy Halvorsen in the past, is you're tracing these shapes and you're appliquing around them. They are not needle turned. These are raw edge from what I'm assuming. Now, I would use a, I can't think, I have some of it upstairs. Steam-a-seam, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I have used to do my raw edge applique. So with steam-a-seam, you trace the pattern onto the steam-a-seam, the wrong side of it, the paper side of it. Then you put that on your fabric, and your pattern should always be reversed. So I know with Nancy Halvorsen's, hers are always reversed. And like, it's not going to matter for a flower per se, but for like letters. Now it's going to show, if this doesn't show right, because in my camera it looks right to me. So hopefully it does it the way it's supposed to be for you, because when I look at this, these are backwards. So this is an N, but it's done backwards. So I'm not sure if that's going to work right on the camera or not. But all of Nancy Halvorsen's things are done in reverse, so that when you trace this onto your steam-a-seam, and then you put it on the back side of your fabric, iron it onto the back side of your fabric, and then you cut on those dark lines, right on the lines, okay? And so then when you peel off that paper backing, then this back side of the letter is sticky. Not sticky to touch, but that's your adhesive. And so then when you put it on your background fabric, and iron it down, then it irons down that piece, okay? Now, sometimes with larger pieces, these are all pretty small, but if I was doing like a large apple piece, let me show you. So say you were doing this large apple right here, not with this part, but this large apple right here. I would cut my steam-a-seam so that I only have the outer edge right here. And that's what I would iron down to my fabric, so that this middle part doesn't get heavy and stiff. So my adhesive is only around the outside. So I would trace the whole thing onto my steam-a-seam, but then I would cut out the intersection of that steam-a-seam. So when I'm ironing it onto my fabric, it's only this outer edge, so that it stays pliable in the middle. But then when you when you iron it down to your background fabric, and then you can applique around this. And so these are layered on top of each other. So you can see how the green would have been put down first, and then this gold print over the top of that, then the white beard over the top of that with these other pieces. So it's all layered. And then you're appliquing around those edges. And you can see it's a blanket stitch. And Debbie has actually changed colors depending on the fabric. And that's what I have done. Let me show you, for example, on these letters. So you can see when I appliqued around here, I actually used the orange on top of the orange letter. And then I also did, just for the letters, you wouldn't do this with your other applique, but I did a very very small outline stitch just to make those letters pop out a little bit. So you change the color of thread to match the material that you're doing it on. The Calico Garden one, I told you I'm using monofilament thread. You could do the same thing with this. It's just personal preference, whatever you like. So each one of these is done with the color thread that you are stitching on top of. So around the beard is white, around this gold is gold. The green has a green thread around the edge. So just a different way of doing applique. And I've done Lori Holt's ones, I do the way that she does it. All my other applique, this is the way I do it. Just a raw edge and use the steam-a-seam to adhere it to my background fabric, and then and the blanket stitch around. So very nice work. She's even done little French knots for the eyes. Really, really cute. So this is, you can see from the bigger picture, I'm gonna have a hard time holding this whole thing up, but the Old World Santa blocks were alternated with pieced blocks, and I was gonna show you the fabrics. So like this print right here, there's a red one, there's also a green one. I know those are Nancy Halvorsen fabric lines, and I doubt those fabric lines are available anymore. You might be able to find it somewhere, but this green here with the swirl on it, she did that a lot. I know she had some red fabric like that as well. You see some others that just made, it's like, oh, yep, well, here's a gold one just like that green one. So here's the gold with the swirl. Now this one may not be a Nancy Halvorsen print, but whoever put the block of the month together, you know, did a really nice job. I like the dark reds, the golds, the greens, just very pretty. So some of the pieced blocks, these are some of the fabrics I know I had. I had this this red one and then this green one. So you had pieced blocks, you have applique blocks, alternated it all through the quilt. Really nice. You'd never know this was 20 years old. So let's go on to the pantograph. So we chose a pantograph that's called Jolly Holly. Some swirls. It does have some holly leaves in there, if you can see those. And if you're familiar with Nancy Halvorsen, let me show you like this apple. You see how she'll do an apple and then she'll do this little swirl on top of it. This is another piece of fabric that's actually appliqued on top of that. So what I like about this pantograph is, let me see if I can find a, so here's a holly leaf right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, around that. And then look at the swirl that comes into the holly leaf and back around. So very, very much like the Nancy Halvorsen, how she does. So kind of coordinated. You see the big swirls. Really nice. I thought this just really went well with this quilt. So this is a cream color thread. And it blends in well with the background print. Then the backing fabric that Debbie chose was this cute reindeer print. A little darker cream than the front. It's just really cute. Very nice quilt. So my motto is, every quilt is worth finishing. Even a 20-year-old block of the month, it is worth finishing. Look how nice it finishes up. You will be so happy you did. So pull those blocks out. Something you haven't worked on in a long time, pull them out, finish them up. You'll be so glad you did. And finish it up. So fun, so fun. Very nice, Debbie. So let me put this one away while you look at some pictures of Debbie's other quilt. It's this Shine On quilt by Bonnie and Camille. So I hope you can see from the larger pictures what beautiful quilts these are, because most of my ones this week are very large quilts, so it's hard for me to hold it up. There's just not a good way for that to be done. So I can show you up close, show you one block at a time, but hopefully those bigger pictures are showing you the bigger picture of what each quilt looks like. So this is the Shine On pattern by Bonnie and Camille, and it comes from this book. This is the Bonnie and Camille Quilt Bee. If you do not have a copy of this book, it's linked below. You will want a copy of this book. I have had this book. I have not made the quilt, but I absolutely want to. It is absolutely gorgeous. So the quilt has more, this book has more than just the Shine On quilt in it. There just a lot of good stories. This is Bonnie and Camille, if you're familiar with them. This is an older picture. Bonnie, this is Bonnie and this is Camille. They are mother and daughter. They worked together for many, many years. This book is actually, I think it was let's see when it was published. Published in 2020. Since then, I'm pretty sure Bonnie has retired and Camille has is doing her own under Thimbleberries. Is her Thimbleberries? Thimble Blossoms. Thimbleberries was Lynette Jensen. Do you remember her? She was another one of my favorites. But let me make sure I'm saying that. Yes. Camille is Thimble Blossoms. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Thimbleberries, Lynette Jensen? She's one of the very first designers I followed. I still have tons of her books, made a lot of her quilts. But anyway, okay. So Bonnie and Camille were a mother and daughter team. Bonnie has now retired. Camille is continuing on her own. But before retiring, they did this book, The Quilt Bee. And so there are several quilt patterns in here. There are lots of pictures. There talks about doing, teaching young granddaughters, grandsons to quilt. There's a legacy quilt where they show pictures of Camille and Bonnie, and then Bonnie's mom talks about her. So the instructions for that quilt, really cute one, are in here. They also talk about, oh, here's a rainbow baby quilt. You could do that from your stash. You really could. Here's a red and white starburst quilt. Ooh, I've got a whole thing of red and white fabric that I would love to use for that. A weekender quilt. That one's really pretty. Let me show you a picture of that one. Really neat on that one. There's a table runner. Then they talk about doing a beehive quilt where they had people send quilt blocks into them, and they made it into at least two big quilts. And I know in here it says how many blocks they received in the mail from people all over the country. It even lists everybody's names that sent in blocks to them. It's like 4 whole pages worth of names of people that sent blocks to them to make those quilts. So really, really cute. Pillow patterns, even this little thread catcher. That is super cute. Pictures of Camille's sewing space. And then towards the back, you have the Shine On sampler quilt. And so that is the quilt that Debbie has sent to me. Actually, I have a second one on my long arm right now from Debbie's sister. And so it is so fun getting to work on 2 of these, and we're doing 2 different pantographs on it. So that is, I don't always get a chance to do that, where I do 2 of the same quilt with different pantographs so you can see how it looks different. So that's a lot of fun. So this is a sampler quilt, so you have all different types of blocks. Very large. Let me see if it says the size. 68 by 80, so not as big. Not my biggest one today anyway. But it's a fairly large quilt. And there's a whole fabric line that you can get to go along with it, the whole Shine On fabric line. So all the directions are in here, each one of the blocks. And then in the back, following that, you can do the same pattern in cross stitch. It is so cute. You could do the same colors, you could do different colors, but how fun would that be to have a quilt and a cross stitch piece that matched? A lot of fun. So I will link this in the description. It is a really, really neat book. And so I plan on making that quilt for myself one of these days. So let me show you up close some of these blocks. We'll start off with the B block. Really cute. Now this probably a 12, maybe even a 15, maybe a 12 by 15 size block, if that shows you, gives you an idea of the size. Then there are pieced. All of this is pieced. None of it is applique, but so you can see how she has used the different pieces to make it into a B. Even that's not bias tape from what I can tell. The antennas are actually little pieced strips. So all of this is pieced. So then you have some other pieced blocks. I should say that. Other traditional blocks, I want to say. You see those. And then you have ones that look more not necessarily traditional, but you have like a large flower. Isn't that really cute? Really fun. Intermixed with other traditional blocks. And then this one's really cute. You have this big house. Oops, here it is. Really fun. Look at the flower door. And then other traditional, more traditional blocks. Love the colorway on this. Again, these are, Debbie used, I believe they are all the shine-on fabrics, from what I can tell. Let me see what else. There's a large block here at this side of the quilt. And the X's. Just really, really pretty. And the backing fabric is actually a Bonnie and Camille fabric as well, a floral. A nice contrast to the front where you have lots of small scale prints, lots of colors, and then the back being the large scale floral is really pretty, really pretty. And then the pantograph. So we saw this pantograph a couple weeks ago with a knitting quilt that I showed you. This is the Knit 1 Purl 2 pantograph. This is one of my favorite pantographs. It really looks nice on everything that I have stitched it on. Just adds a lot of texture, a lot of, just really complements all the fabrics and the feel. Like I said, a lot of texture to it. It's a, what do I want to say? I mean, it's a pretty close design, but it's not really tight. And I don't know if that makes sense. It covers a lot of area, but there's spacing in between it too. So it's not super dense, but it feels that way. It's a nice one to stitch out if you're a long arm quilter. It's a very nice one to stitch out. Stitches out very easy. The lines nest together very well. Just a real pleasure to work with. And I used a white thread on this because the background was the white, and even in the on the backing, I used a white bobbin, and because the base of that is white, it just soaks right into it too. So fun. Just I had so much fun this week with the quilts I had. Just nice fabric, nice patterns, just very well made, very nicely done. Isn't that one cute? Just the patchwork. So really, really nice. So those are Debbie's 2 quilts that she sent me. Those will be going back to her this week. And I know she'll be excited to get those back. And Debbie's sister, Sandy, I have hers on the long arm this week, so hopefully next week you'll get to see those. So let's start into, I have back here on my desk, I have a baby quilt. We'll start with that one. These next 3 quilts all came from Lisa, and so some really beautiful quilts. So let me show you the first one, the baby quilt. All right, if you remember, we had this same pattern. Lisa did the same pattern in the aqua, the turquoise, the aqua, the red, yellow. We had that one, was it last week or the week before? It's the exact same pattern. This is a Modernly Morgan pattern. The pattern is called Burn Bright. Burning Brightly, Burn Bright, something. I'll link it down below. So the exact same pattern that we did on the other one. Let me get this one right. But this one is all pinks. Just really cute. I mean, simple, large piecing like I talked about the last time, but just a really nice effect. So you see how she has done the same print here, and then the next line has the same print here, and then a lighter print here. So even though it's scrappy, it's a planned scrappy so that you have that same, and that's done on all sides. So you have the 3 different prints, and then the 4th print is the middle star, and that matches these side strips. So you're picking, you know, for this one, you're picking 4 different colors, all the same color, I mean, 4 different fabrics, but all the same colorway. And, you know, the middle's a little darker than the others, and then you go to the lighter and a background fabric. And then let me show you the back. She pieced the backing again, and that's because this quilt, I think I talked about this last time, it's a 41 by 41. So if you're using regular yardage, it's not quite wide enough, because regular yardage comes at anywhere 40, 42, 44 inches. So by adding this one, the last quilt, she just did a stripe across the back, and that made it. Look at this one, she did a plus. So sideways and up and down to make it the backing large enough. And then this is a cute, really complementary fabric for that front pattern with the stars. Really, really cute. All right, let's talk about the pantograph. Lisa asked for the love. Let me switch it to this side. That glare is... All right, there you can see it. This is called Love You, E-W-E, Love You pantograph. So those are sheep with the great big ears. Well, let's call them lambs, maybe. Since it's a baby quilt, we'll call them lambs. The great big ears, and then you have swirls between them. Just so cute. Now we talked about with the last one that Lisa sent, we did the hopscotch pattern so that the quilt will kind of grow with her grandson. More of a boyish quilt, but juvenile, I want to say. You know, it could be for a baby boy, but it would kind of grow. This one just is so adorable. This would be so pretty, even just hanging on a wall in a nursery or draped over the side of the crib, to throw over in the wintertime, to throw over the car seat. This is so adorable. Or to lay out on the floor, take some pictures with the baby. This is just so adorable. So the pantograph just adds some softness, adds to the infant feel to it, the new baby, newborn. Just really, really pretty. Really pretty. Enjoyed that. And this is a white thread, again, because of the white background. Shows a white thread. And I'll show you a close up on the back, too. So just really, really pretty. So that's Lisa's first one. Then Lisa's next one is this red Erica Arndt quilt. So let me pull that down while you look at some pictures. Isn't this one pretty too? I tell you, I had so much fun this week with the quilts I did. All right, so this one is a 71 by 86 quilt, so a good size. And this was, it says it's block patterns by Arndt. Love Arndt. Her whole style and the patterns she has, really, really cute. She's got a truck series out right now. Really cute. And so Lisa says this is a mix of 2022 and 2023 quilt along blocks. So let's do, you saw the big picture. Let me see if I can get some close-ups of some of these quilt blocks. Make sure I have it going the right way. There are, and I know it's the right way because there are some hearts and there are some houses, so that I know that those are the right direction. And all right, so reds and pinks, and then a floral that combines the two. All right, let me start with the houses. Fold it back on itself. Cute little, to me these are like little cottages. So we have this main print. This is a really neat idea. If you know you're using a big floral like this, you could pick this out first and then draw your other colors from that fabric. That's a good hint. Even looking at the selvages, especially of this print, along the selvage, I'm sure you would see the different colorways that were printed along the bottom, and you can use that selvage piece to match the color fabrics that you're going to use as coordinating ones. So we have some dark reds, and then some, you know, pink and red together, and then pink, but it all coordinates with that same, this is like, it ties everything together, this fabric right there. So cute little cottages, 4 to that block right there. 2 are the same, 2 are the same. Then she's used this gray print. I've used this gray print in foundation paper piecing. I was doing the red and then the large floral around the edges again. Let me pick out another block to show you. So those for the houses. And here's more of a traditional pinwheel in the middle. And then you have some flying geese on these, and then half square triangles on the corners. And by turning the half square triangles, those different directions, it makes the pinwheel feel like it's continuing. It's a larger pinwheel. Then here, simple block. This is a 4-patch, large square in the middle. But again, if we coordinate a plan how we do our fabrics, it makes it more interest to the block. And I love this white print. It has the little pins. Isn't that cute? So again, these are all for the same block, but when we turn them in like that, then it makes more of a pattern. And we're using the same fabrics over and over. You can see this was the roof of the house. Here's the red that we've had in those other blocks. There's no pink in this one, but with the big floral, so they're all coordinating, even though we're not using the same prints in, we are using the same prints throughout the quilt, but we're not using all of the prints in every block. So let me go to the other side. Let me fold this way. All right, so here we have a leaf. Again, it is so fun because quilting, you can get so many different designs and they're very simple blocks, very simple. So again, half square triangle blocks, 1 full square, half square triangles, full square, full square, full square. And then you've got this one that's pieced to make the stem. And you put it together in a certain way and it makes it a leaf. Now you've probably seen quilts that will do leaves like this and they're set on point. I've got one upstairs that's actually antique blocks again, somebody else made, that I need to put all together, and it's I'm actually going to set that one on point. This one is not. It's put into the quilt this way. Really cute. All right, the next one down, 4 pinwheel blocks. Again, those same fabrics. We're using all of the fabrics in this one. We have that same print from the roof, the red. We have that pink that was on those cottages, the floral, and then the white print. Really cute. And another one. So fun. All right, so let me see if there's anything else. There's another whole row. We have Churn Dash. So being a sampler quilt, you get to try all different kinds of blocks and all in one quilt, which is fun, compared to this one back here that we're going to talk about in just a minute that is all one block, made a whole quilt out of one block. Let me show you, because this one has that same block on it. So this is the Churn Dash block. Right there. And that's the same block that's used in that quilt right there, but the whole quilt is made out of those. Really, really fun. All right, let me show you the backing fabric that she chose. I love this backing as well. This is a like a paisley print, gray. Ooh, just classy. I like that. I like that fabric. All right, now let me get in close so you can see the pantograph. I think it shows up best on that red. Let me try to get rid of some threads here. Shows up best on the red. So this pantograph is called Wave on Wave. I have several designs that are similar, and each one I just kind of picked depending on just the style of the quilt. You know, we've talked about before whether it's chunky, whether it's thin. Some of them I have it's very similar to this, but it has a little more circles in with it too. This one's got a little more of a feather print. You can see it comes out of the swirl and then does a little bit more of a feather here. Kind of chunky. I like that. I think it complemented the quilt well. Not floral per se, but added some swirls, some daintiness, I want to say. And there you can see it. Just a lot of fun. Really, really cute. So again, Erica Arndt, block patterns, and I'll put a link to Erica's, she's also a YouTuber, and I'll put a link to her stuff in the description so that you can see what she works on too. Some really, really cute stuff. I follow her on Instagram and enjoy what she's doing. So the last one I have to show you today, this one is a mammoth quilt. This one is like 99 by 99. It's all in 30s prints, and it is from Lori Holt's book, Scrappiness is Happiness. So I'll show you a large picture of it, and then we can talk about it. All right, this quilt comes from Lori's book, Scrappiness is Happiness. And this, you know, this is probably a 1.5 inch thick book. Spiral bound, so you can lay it flat. Full of wonderful quilts, a lot of fun. So this one is called the, let me find it, the Quick Dash is what she calls it. Page 180. Let me show you a picture of Lori's quilt. So this is the one that Lori made, the Quick Dash quilt. She gives the instructions for this block. Now, if you follow Fat Quarter Shop or Lori Holt as well, you know they are doing a Scrappiness is Happiness quilt along where they're making one of each of these blocks and putting them into a setting. One of each of the blocks that's in this booklet. And then, but each one of the blocks also has a quilt that you can make using that block in the whole quilt. So that's what this Quick Dash quilt is. Here's a, I'm not going to show you that. There's a picture of the layout A lot of fun. Ah, I just love this. All right, so this is also from Lisa. And she says the 30s prints are all from her stash, but most of the background prints and the backing are from Riley Blake and Lori Holt's prints from Riley Blake. So I'm just going to be able to hold up parts of these so you can see the 30s prints are so fun. So fun. Just all different colorways. Reds and blues, oranges, purples, greens, yellows. Here's a fun pink one with the green. Let me fold it this way so you can see some of the others. Some of them have little, you know, like little girls, little boys playing, or it's the, you know, little dogs. Just so cute. I don't know if you're a fan of 30s prints, but I sure am. I don't know if there's too much I don't like, to be honest. So you can see the background prints. Most of these are Lori Holt ones. You can recognize like her, here's the chicken wire, some of her other ones. And then all around the border is this green 30s print. And that's the entire border. I can't look at this yellow dog. So cute. So cute. I tell you, my arm's getting tired. This is so heavy. This is a very large quilt. Purples, and then the background. That's the spools again. So let me show you the backing fabric. This is one of Lori's wide backings. Really fun. A nice complement to the front. I like that, don't you? And there's the corner. You can see that backing, or the border fabric. All right, did you see the pantograph? I like this pantograph. Actually, this is the same pantograph I used on my my Happy Place Lori Holt quilt that I did last year. So this is called Wishbone. So if you're a long arm quilter and you see this one, when it comes up on your screen, you're going to have wishbone here and you're going to have wishbone here, and they're like set on top of each other like this. I merge the two all the way in so that you have this circle coming all the way up into almost touching the intersection of the row above it. So here you have, it comes down like this and around like this, okay? And I merge the two all the way down so that this loop is inside. Here's the loop from one row, and here's the top one from the other row. Do you see that? So this is the row underneath, this is the row above it, right here. Merge them all the way down so that they nest inside each other like that. You see, because this one's, when you first bring it up, this top is going to be all the way down here below the bottom of this row, and I merge it all the way up so that it nests right inside there. Wishbone is a pantograph by Long Arm League, and I am a member of the Long Arm League, been a member quite a while now. So if you're a long arm quilter unfamiliar with the Long Arm League, it is a membership organization of long arm quilters from across the country. We have weekly lessons. We have a group community where we can ask each other questions. We have a pantograph database where we can go in and see what other people, pantographs that other quilters have used, and kind of get an idea of scale and size and what it looks like on other quilts. What else? We have smaller groups. If you're wanting to, you can have smaller groups called business buddies. And just to really, I will put a link down below for that if you're interested in that. It's just a good organization to learn a lot. There's a whole rookie season that you can be a part of if you're just starting, that will help you get started in your business. I actually had my business going long before I joined the Long Arm League, but I've learned so much, changed so much. Had been help with, you know, everything from website to shipping supplies to billing and invoicing. Jess talks about all kinds of things like that. And then just the community around that too is really fun. So, but she also, once a month we get a free pantograph. And I believe Wishbone is one that comes out in the rookie season that you can get it. But you can also just purchase it off of Long Arm League Panto Shop if you're interested in that. But a really nice design. I know there's some other similar ones that other designers have done. That's just the one I use is from Long Arm League. But really, really cute on this Churn Dash quilt. Love it, love it, love it. So again, that comes from the Scrappiness is Happiness book. So many fun quilts in here. And you can follow Lori on her YouTube channel as well, where she has done a tutorial on every one of the blocks that's in this book. And that's how the book got started, is she was doing the, she was doing tutorials for the different blocks on her YouTube, and then finally put it all together as a book so that you have all the directions in one spot. So really, really fun there. So those are the quilts that I have done for this week. And it's just, I had so much fun this week. Some really, really beautiful quilts. And I got a lot more up there. I've got another Shine On one that I'm working on right now. And just several others that are up there ready to get started. So if you are interested in long arm quilting, you can find the link down below, and it'll take you to my website where you can download the instructions on how to get a quilt to me. And whether you're local or mail in, get in contact with me so we can get your quilt done. Like I said, every quilt is worth finishing. And I have one other thing I wanted to talk to you about today. I have been contemplating the idea of some sort of membership. And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but if you would be interested in joining me in a membership type where either that's like an online quilt guild where you're quilting along with me, or something along those lines. The idea has been brought to my attention about doing a little more intimate group where it's we have a membership together where we can be in closer contact and just learn more from each other, and a little more community. If that's something that you would be interested in, I'm just in the beginning stages of just contemplating ideas, but could you send me a direct message, and not through the comments, but more of a direct message, either through email, and just tell me you'd be interested in that. Kind of give me some ideas what you'd be interested in, how you would like to be a part of that, or some ideas that you have. I would be interested in knowing your thoughts in that, and just like I said, just another facet that's been brought to my attention that might be something that we could pursue in the future. So I'm so glad you've joined me here this week. Thank you for being my friend and being here with me, and I hope that you are making lots of time to quilt, and if I can be of help, please let me know that. Thanks so much, and have a great week.